Right, I just had a notification on my phone that said iPhone needs to cool down, but you know what? I can't cool down, so therefore my iPhone can't either. Yeah, ignore the boxes and everything. I mean, in my last video it was there as well, but I'm procrastinating because I'm sad and I don't want to move out of my house because it stresses me out. So I'm gonna do a video about my rescue from well, about 9 miles from Everest Base Camp. I never made it to Everest Base Camp, right? Just gonna say that out. Actually, if you saw my other video, yeah, I didn't make it to Everest Base Camp, and I wish I did, and I'm sad every day that I didn't. But you know what? Physical capabilities and all of that, didn't manage. So I thought, why not? Let's do a little video about my rescue from Dingboche, which is about... Oh, it's either Dingboche or Dingboche. I don't know how to pronounce it, to be honest. I can't remember how high it is. It's about 4,300 meters above sea level. So the altitude is hitting, right? And I'm very susceptible to altitude. So yeah, I think, when was it? I'm also going to put in little videos. So I'm going to like break up the... I'm going to try and work it out, but I'm going to do technology, right? So I think it was our first night in Dingboche. I'm just going to call it Dingboche, right? Our first night in Dingboche, I was fine. Like, I felt fine. I ate my dinner and everything. I remember I had... Okay, no, I actually struggle to talk about this still. No, it doesn't make me upset. It makes me feel sick, right? I had this lovely veggie burger. Oh my God, it was the nicest thing in the world. And like, I'd not eaten anything that I'd really enjoyed in a good few days. So I was like, oh my God, yes. So I had that and I was fine. And I went to bed. And I was just like, I was feeling really cold and really shaky. And I was just like, yeah, standard altitude. I had a headache and all this jazz.
I'm not kidding you. I mean, I've said a good few times in the last 4 days that I've been sort of cold, like beyond cold. This is my hand is actually shaking as I'm doing the video. My hands are so cold. I am absolutely freezing. It is -14 in this room. I can't even. I'm so cold. I mean, I'm 10 miles from Everest. But I'm like, why is there no heating in this room? I sat next to the heater for as long as humanly possible. And then it went out. And I was like, no. So yeah, tomorrow I have to go on a climatization hike to 4,900 meters. So that'll be fun.
I woke up in the middle of the night. All I'm going to say is my stomach wasn't good, right? My stomach wasn't good. And I was just like, every time I got up to like stagger to the toilet, I just like, my vision was going and I just felt so unwell. And I was like, I didn't know whether I was going to be sick or I just felt rotten, right? And I don't know what it was. And like looking back on this, I'm like, yeah, it's classic like altitude sickness. Like, bear in mind, this room was freezing cold. Like, there was ice on the inside of the window. It was so cold. For some reason, I got really confused and, like, started taking all my layers off, got out of my sleeping bag and all this stuff. I was really confused. It's about 3 o'clock in the morning and I was just like, what on earth is going on? I tried opening the window to, like, get some fresh air in. I think that did a little bit of good. I went back to sleep and everything. I think I was fine. I woke up about 8 and I remember I sent a message to my group leader and I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna lie, I ain't feeling well. Like, I didn't even know what was going on. Yeah, I'm gonna break the video up and like put little videos in from that time, but I'll work that out. Yeah, so there is a video of this, of me getting some like hot tea or something. No, it was electrolytes.
This is not ideal. Ugh. I don't even know what illness this is, but I mean, I've been given a couple of electrolytes. I feel really weak and my head hurts, but like my oxygen is fine. So I don't know what it is. Just some virus of sorts. I've got my D. Tastes like ass. It's... oh, the bloody hell. I mean, you know, I think it might have something to do with the fact that these rooms are like -15. Like, everything is absolutely freezing. And, my God, I have to be there for breakfast in 15 minutes. I'm gonna go on another hike to 4,900 meters. I've been told I need to take a full Diamox instead of half a Diamox. One might have the start of a bit of altitude sickness, but my oxygen's fine, so it's not that bad. Yeah, I'll take a full Diamox, and I can literally see my breath in here. This is horrible. My head really hurts, but yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes.
I was thinking about it. I'm not going to think about it. Yeah. And then I kind of perked up a little bit. So I was like, oh, it's okay. I'll do the acclimatization hike that was planned for that day. So I did the acclimatization hike, and when I was on my way down, I've never felt so ill in my life. Like, it was really shaky, and I just like felt like I couldn't lift my feet up off the ground. It was like awful feeling. And I got back to the tea house, and I was like, I ordered beans on toast for my lunch. Bear in mind, I hadn't eaten anything for breakfast because like I just felt really unwell. And I managed like I remember cutting a tiny little like triangle off the side of the bread. And I was just like trying to eat this bean, and I was just putting it in my mouth. I was like, I cannot. And everyone else was like going to this cafe that apparently had heating, and it did, and apparently it was lovely. And I was just like, I couldn't manage it. I was like, I actually can't walk anymore. Like, every step like felt like I was like being pushed down by gravity. It was absolutely awful. Oh my God, man. It's this what do you need that call? It's this bloody altitude, man. Kids in the middle of the room. This altitude is hideous. Absolutely hideous. It's horrible. Like, my head hurts. Like, every time I walk, I'm like, oh, like I can't even move. I managed to do my acclimatization hike, so I went up to 4,700, came back down to 4,400. My headache's back, and I just feel like rubbish. I've got my bottle of electrolytes to try and make myself feel better. I have no idea, like, I think it's altitude, but I have no idea. I'm just very, I'm like, my oxygen's fine, so I don't know. God. No. I didn't think I could be humbled anymore. But it was, you know, disaster struck. I woke up and I shit my yeah, and I remember calling my mum, and I was just like crying. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is so hard. And I've never actually felt like that ever in my life. I was like, I actually give up. Like, hands up, I give up. I actually can't. I couldn't walk anymore. I literally couldn't move anymore. Anyway, I'd like rested for a couple of hours, like in my room, feeling like crap, and then it was like time for dinner, and somebody, I can't remember who it was somebody really lovely on our trip, says, oh, the fire's on. And, you know, I actually think if I hadn't have gone down then, I'd have just really gone downhill, like, even more. And I mean, with altitude sickness, it can become quite dangerous quite quickly. So I'm very lucky that, oh yeah, the fire's on when you come down. So I did. And I sat by the fire, and I just was like going downhill, like just feeling really unwell, feeling like I was going to be sick, and just like feeling really dizzy. And it got to the point where I was kind of struggling to breathe a little bit as well. And our group leader was like, yeah, no, I think we need to get her to the doctor. And by this point, I literally couldn't move. Like, I couldn't move my legs or anything like that. I could barely walk. people helped me to get out of the tea house, and they kind of laid me down on this I don't know what it was. It wasn't a stretcher. It was more of a plank of wood, and they'd like laid a blanket over it and then popped me on it. And I just remember, like, it was this surreal kind of feeling of, like, there was, like, I think it was, my group leader and a few other people, I don't know whether they were group leaders or, I'm not sure, like, my memory's kind of, like, foggy from that. And I remember just, like, there's these tiny little narrow pathways, and it was snowing outside, it was freezing cold, and I just remember like looking up at the stars and stuff, and I could see Amadablam, which is like another, I think it's a 6,000 meter peak that you can see from Dingboche. And I remember looking up at that, and like all I could see is just like the snow and just darkness and like lights and stuff like that. Well, not lights, like stars and stuff like that. And it was really pretty, but I just kind of felt myself just like getting really tired, and I was just like, no, like I was really stressing out about it, because like you hear all these things about people with altitude sickness and stuff like that, and it can become very bad very quickly. And I was like, oh god. And I'd convinced myself that like this was it, there was nothing else in my head. And I was like starting to panic, because I was like starting to feel weaker and weaker and weaker, and I was like, oh god, like I'm really panicking here. And I remember the first thing I said to the doctor, like, this clinic was tiny. It was a tiny little room. And they like, laid I don't know what it was, stretcher thing on the floor. And I remember talking to the doctor, and I was like speaking to the insurance company on the phone, but my brain was getting really muddled, and I couldn't answer them, and I didn't know what to say and stuff like that. And I was just like really stressing out. I was trying to phone home, and I was like struggling to do that, and my brain just wasn't making sense. Nothing was making sense, and I was just so confused, and it was just so bad. And I remember looking up at this doctor, and I was just like, please, I don't want to die. Please, I don't want to die, and all this stuff. And I was just like, I was really stressing out. Like, I remember I was really panicky, and my stomach was not good either. I'm just going to say that now. And this doctor was lovely. He was like, you know, I've got you. Don't worry. I've got you. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it, and stuff like that. Anyway, I was put in this little room, and I remember there was loads of clouds all over the walls. And to be fair, it was quite calming, to be honest. Like, the whole room would just look like a sky, and it was nice. And they gave me, well, no, I'm thinking about it now. I don't want to think about it. I've cut out a few details because I actually still can't talk about it, because it makes me feel quite unwell. Like, although, like, when I was in the tea house, people were getting, like, served their tea, their dinner. I still can't speak about veggie fried potatoes. The thought of it just, no, I can't, the smell. No, we're not thinking about it, right, we're moving on. Anyway, I was in this, like, clinic, and they were ordering like an emergency evacuation via, like, helicopter. And they said, well, we can't evacuate or anything like that until first light, like 6 a.m. At that point, I was pretty stable. Like, my oxygen was low, but it wasn't too bad. Like, we were holding our own. We were doing okay. Like, I didn't require oxygen or anything at that point. We were doing good. I was given, like, lots of pills to take for, like, nausea, for altitude sickness, for, I think, is it gastroenteritis and stuff like that. There was a lot of things going on, and then, like, yeah, my FND hadn't kicked off at this point, but more on that later. And then I think, like, I remember in the middle of the night, like, all these things are very sketchy, like, in my memory. In the middle of the night, this doctor that was looking after me, I says, I'm really thirsty, I can't drink water right now, it, like, just made me feel sick. And he brought this little bottle of Sprite, and it was half drank. And I just remember it being the most wonderful thing I've ever tasted in my entire life. It was great. Best bottle of Sprite I've ever had, and I've never been more grateful to have received a bottle of Sprite ever in my life. It was great. Anyways, I think it was about 7:30 or something like that. My trip leader came back, he checked I was okay, and they arranged, the helicopter was like coming in like half an hour or something like that. So they got me up onto this like stretcher again, took me out, and it was, I remember they were kind of like trying to maneuver this stretcher around the walls and stuff like that. And I mean, honestly, the lot of them were just absolutely amazing. And they got me onto the like helipad thing, and I remember somebody covered my head with a sheet while the helicopter kind of landed, and I was just like laid on this thing. Like, I think I only could do a few steps at this point with a lot of help. They put me on this on the helicopter. Like, I'd never been in a helicopter before. It was very, very strange. And I don't know whether anyone's ever seen the film Everest, but it's a good film. You need to watch it. It just, like, when the helicopter took off, it reminded me of the bit of Beck Weathers when he gets like evacuated, and it shows you all of the like scenery going down from like Everest base camp down to kind of Lukla. So pretty. It was so pretty. I mean, I was very kind of delirious at this point. My head wasn't working properly, and like they gave me oxygen. Yeah, and they said that they had to land at Lukla because they needed fuel, so they refueled. They sat me in this little thing, this little room with two of the like other helicopter pilot thing people. They were lovely. They were really lovely, and they gave me some oxygen because my oxygen dropped a little bit. And I was just like so confused, and I was sitting in front of this heater, and I was like, oh my god, it was the first bit of heat I'd had like all the week. Oh god, it was so cold. Someone came and got me, and I got on another helicopter back to Kathmandu. Insert the video of that because it was Lukla airport, like taking off is so, oh my god, it's great. It's quite scary, but it's great at the same time. Like, it was beautiful. Anyway, I remember this flight being really, really long. Like, it just felt like the helicopter was going on for ages and ages and ages, getting back to Kathmandu. I mean, it is quite far away, but it was like half an hour. And this time I was sat in the front, and like I had the headphones on and stuff like that, and I could hear the kind of radio transmissions. It was quite cool. I love aviation. And this was like, I was nerding out at this point. It was great. Then we landed at Kathmandu on the airfield, and I just remember kind of collapsing onto the floor out of the helicopter. They immediately put me in this stretcher, took me in an ambulance to the hospital in Kathmandu. And I just remember being so confused. Like, at this point, I was just like not really seeing straight or anything like that. Like, everything was confusing. And at some point after that, I went into a seizure. But I mean, at the minute, it's unclear what caused these seizures, because usually I have non-epileptic seizures. But my neurologist was like, she thought it was more altitude sickness related seizures. She wasn't 100% sure what had gone on, because, I mean, after that, I was very unwell. I had quite severe, like, altitude sickness. I was suffering quite a lot of seizures. I was admitted to the ICU, and I think it was about 10 p.m, something like that. I mean, I don't remember any of this. I don't remember any of it from being in the ambulance to the hospital in Kathmandu. And I just remember, like, everything going really dark. And I think that was about it. And then I vaguely remember somebody plaiting my hair, which I later recalled that the nurses had plaited my hair at some point, and it was really sweet of them. And I kind of woke up the next day, and I had this, like, I was intubated, so I had this tube, like, in my mouth, and it was just the pain. There was just pain everywhere. I don't even know where the pain was coming from at this point. I didn't know where the pain was coming from. It was weird. And it was just the most weird experience. And then they told me, oh yeah, you had to be intubated and ventilated, like, overnight because you really weren't doing very well. And I mean, it's still difficult to think about. And I'd had a lumbar puncture done as well, which was very, very painful when I had to start walking again. Like, a few days after, they kept getting me up, and the pain in my head. I was on very, very strong painkillers. I really struggled with that. After, I think it was about 4 or 5 days, I was discharged from the ICU. Is it the ICU or the high dependency unit? Something like that. I think they're, like, in the same ward next to each other. I think it was a ward next to each other. The nurses were absolutely lovely. They kept plaiting my hair and, like, washing my hair. It was lovely. And I was able to go and have, like, dinner with everybody who had, like, my group, back in Kathmandu for, like, the final night. And my mum had flown over to come and get me because there was no way I was going to get home on my own. But yeah, and after that we flew through New Delhi. I struggled with that. I really struggled with the flights, like, with this lumbar puncture headache. Oh my god, it was so bad. But yeah, that is the rundown of my evacuation from Everest. Oh god, it was really quite a time. But I thought just to share that wisdom with you all. I think I kind of touched on it in my other experience at Everest Base Camp video I did a few weeks ago. But yeah, just wanted to share all of that. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, let me know in the comments. But yeah, that was my evacuation from Everest. Oh dear me.